All right. Good morning, everyone. I want to welcome you to the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce webinar on how to ensure your business maximizes PPP forgiveness. We are going live on Facebook. So those that are have access to Facebook, you can now go on and share and start a watch party. This is the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce workshop on how to make sure your business maximizes PPP forgiveness. As many of you know, over the past few months, the federal government has provided information to us and resources to a business community in regards to the PPP. As a Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce, we're the first to take advantage of the PPP through these webinars that we've been doing with our contact, Althea Harris, bringing us the latest information on the PPP. Now that the program has closed, we are now in the process of the next steps, which is making sure that you can maximize your forgiveness. So today we have a great panel discussion so that you can get the maximum information. So without further ado, I'm going to bring in our president, Eric Knowles, and we're going to talk a little bit more about our distinguished panel. Mr. Knowles.
Well, good morning, Matthew, and thank you again as we bring another informative webinar to our members and to the community. And definitely excited about our guest this morning, Ms. Althea Harris with the SBA, and Mr. Stephen Henriquez, who is a CPA, an accountant, a guy that manages money. So it's important, and that's what we're talking about this morning, managing that PPP, because if you don't do it right, you find yourself in trouble. So I'm going to get out of the way and let you all bring forth the program.
All right, thank you very much, Eric. As I said, we've had great partnerships with the SBA and also our members. Today we have on the panel Ms. Althea Harris, who is the Assistant Director of District Director for Marketing and Community Outreach, and our very own member, longtime member of Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce, been a pillar for small business accounting in Miami for many years, Mr. Stephen Henriquez of SJH CPA, a certified public accountant. First, let's hear from Ms. Althea Harris with the SBA. Welcome, Ms. Harris. Thank you for joining us today.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you so much, Matt. Thank you, Eric. It's always a pleasure to talk with your membership. I was delighted that last week I was with someone who had joined the last time I was on, and it was such a pleasure to hear him say that the information imparted was so useful to him in securing a PPP loan in the second round. So I do hope. Hello?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I heard something. And so I'm really hoping that today this will be equally as helpful to you and the membership in moving past the PPP stage, because of course the update is that PPP is closed for now. It closed on Saturday, August 8th at midnight, was the last chance that lenders had to request approval on a PPP loan for a borrower. So that is closed. And y'all might recall we had approximately $132 billion to dispense in that round, that extension of the PPP. I don't think we spent anywhere near that much. I want to share the statistics with you though, because I think it's really important. Overall, over 5.2 million PPP loans were made and approved. The value of those loans was 525 billion plus, that's with a B. We had over 5,400 lenders, fintech companies, CDFIs, micro lenders, et cetera, participating in the program. I'm happy to announce that here in Florida, over 433,000 loans were done. That makes us number 2 in the nation for the number of PPP loans done nationwide. The value of those loans to Florida companies was $32.3 billion. And that makes us 4th in the nation for the dollars. The average loan amount under the PPP program was $101,000. So the idea that small businesses were not getting these loans is absolutely not true. 44% of the loans that were made were for under $350,000. 68% of the loans made were for under $50,000. And of those that were made, almost $63 billion went to businesses that received less than $50,000. And that was 3.6 million of all the loans. So the truth is that PPP loans went to small businesses like your membership, I'm happy to say. And while we closed the door on PPP last Saturday, on Monday, the 10th of August, we opened the door for the loan forgiveness applications at SBA. So what your membership needs to know if they borrowed money.
All right, looked like you went out. Miss Harris? Huh? Did we lose her? All right, I think we have.
Yes, hi, this is Aileen Fernandez, also from the SBA. Althea did get kicked off, so she's trying to log back in. And I think what she was going to start saying is that we are hosting PPP forgiveness next steps on a daily basis, that your membership is more than welcome to join us at any time, where we go over the application and who would qualify for whether it's the easy application or the longer portion of the application. And we do have subject matter experts that kind of run through the entire portion of that application, and it's about a 30 to 35-minute presentation, and there is a portion at the end where they are also able to ask questions, and so sometimes they really can't get into like all the nitty-gritty, but they are able to answer the majority of the questions for the businesses.
Oh, Aileen?
Yes.
Oh, thank you for filling in for me.
I mentioned to them about the daily PPP next steps that we have, and they always welcome to join us, where they kind of go over the application. That's where I thought you were going. That's what I filled in with.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much. I really appreciate that, Aileen. Yeah, we do have a lot to offer in terms of helping you all get zeroed in on loan forgiveness. But one of the things I wanted to tell you though is, okay, so we're now accepting loan forgiveness applications from the lenders, right? So it's not that you, the borrower, are going to ask SBA directly for the forgiveness. The process begins with you, the borrower, being in touch with your lender to submit your application to the lender. Now, on the Treasury website, treasury.gov/cares are the two applications that are there. Now, importantly, sole proprietors, independent contractors, and self-employed folks who got PPP loans, you are going to be able to use the EZ application. Now, your lender may choose to accept that application or its equivalent. So it's really important that you have a good working relationship with your lender to understand how they want to and will be participating in the loan forgiveness application process. So do check with your lender on that. Now, you have up to 10 months to put in your application for forgiveness. Now, obviously, sooner is better than later, because interest does accrue on the loan from the date you got the loan monies until your loan forgiveness kicks in. Now, no payments are required. If your loan is fully forgiven, you'll have no payments. You have nothing to concern yourself about with respect to interest. If your loan is not fully forgiven, whatever portion is not forgiven and a balance exists, you're going to have to make payments on that loan, including the interest that has accrued on the portion that has not been forgiven. Now, remember, if you got a PPP loan before June 5, your term is 1% interest for 2 years. If you got a loan after June 5, it's 1% for 5 years. Now, if you are in that first category and you have a balance that's not, that you have a balance on the loan, you can negotiate with your lender to extend the term. Now, the lender is going to tell you what to pay, how to pay, and when to pay if you have a balance, okay? So these are the details and the nuances that I wanted to be sure to communicate with you. Again, have a relationship with your lender, because they're going to be, it's critical that you provide the information they need to process your application for loan forgiveness. So the sooner you can do that, the better. Now, there are reasons to choose different aspects under the PPP program. And this is why I really want to emphasize that you take our PPP Next Steps webinar if you can. We do it every single day, Monday through Friday at 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock. And our experts who go through that, go through the loan forgiveness application. We define terms like covered period, alternative covered period, and we go through the calculations, not so much your individual calculations, of course, but providing examples on the calculations, because there are benefits to choosing one type of calculation over another, choosing the covered period versus the alternative covered period, when it comes to ensuring that you have the right levels of employment for your employees and their wages. So if you had a decrease in your employees or you decrease their wages, there are strategies to ensure that you get the maximum amount of loan forgiveness. So I want to reiterate to you that the PPP Next Steps webinar that we do every day is valuable for that. And the way that you can access that is to go on Eventbrite and search SBA South Florida, and you'll see them there. Obviously, it's free, but you'll need a ticket to join. Also, if I may, we are starting on Monday for 6 Mondays at noon, a webinar series that we are doing in conjunction with our resource partner, SCORE, to help business owners prepare for the future, pivot towards their future, progress in their future, and ideally get you to a place of prosperity. And over the 6-week period, during these webinars, you'll have an opportunity to learn how to do that. One of the sessions is on the SWOT analysis. Another session is on marketing on a dime. In order to move past and through this pandemic, it's going to be really important that business owners employ strategies to pivot, either maybe away from what you've been doing to something that may be more profitable, or maximizing your finances. This is the financial piece is really something that business owners have got to focus on, and is something that we know many don't. And finances made the difference, right? Having financial statements that you understood and were really critical, even just in the process of applying for the PPP and in applying for SBA's Economic Injury Disaster Loan, which also triggered the loan advance. So many people, while they were able to secure these loans and the advance, may not have gotten the amount of the loan they could have had if their financials were tighter, if they had communicated those financials in the application process. So I just wanted to share that particular upcoming opportunity as well. Now back on the PPP, you're going to have to demonstrate how you utilized the PPP money, particularly if you have W-2 wage earners. If you're a sole proprietor, an independent contractor, or a self-employed individual, you have a whole lot less to do on PPP, and that's why you get to fill out the easy application. But when it comes to the W-2 employees, the beauty about W-2 employees is that you've made your tax filings, so that's evidence of how you utilize the money. But you want to gather those documents and provide the most comprehensive package you can to your lender, so that you're not stalling the process or slowing down the process by having them to request from you more information, the same information, the proof. If you use a payroll processing company, they're going to have the documentation that you need to successfully apply for loan forgiveness. So I think that's all I want to share right now, and I look forward to the questions, Matt, or if there are any questions right this moment.
Thank you, Ms. Harris. So I do have a few people that, well, actually, right now, hold up. All right, so I do have a hand, and for our participants on the webinar, please feel free to raise your hand, and if you raise your hand, we can get your questions. I want you to get questions in to Ms. Harris first. So just a few things that you mentioned, Ms. Harris, that I definitely want to ask you one question while people start to raise their hands and put information in the Q&A box that's online. You mentioned that the relationship with the lender is key. And I know a lot of people, small business owners, they try to go anywhere to get these PPP funds, and they may not have a strong relationship with the actual lender. What are your suggestions or thoughts when that relationship literally just started with the PPP, and there may not be a direct access? How would you, what advice would you give?
Sure. Well, the key is to whatever avenue you have for your lender, utilize it, right? So if it's that the bank has just a website, well, obviously go to that website to understand as much as you can about the process from their posted documents, right? If you have an 800 number, call it, okay? And again, I don't want you all to miss the way that we're helping you understand what is required. So yes, we recognize that a lot of people use the fintech companies, but they are obliged, they're obligated, they're required to help you apply for forgiveness. Because at the end of the day, when you apply for forgiveness, it's in the lender's interest to help you apply for forgiveness, because that's how they get paid. when you make your application and we say, yes, Matt's loan is totally forgiven, we turn around and pay the lender. So they're not getting their money back until these loans go away through SBA paying for them through the forgiveness process, or you begin paying them because it hasn't been forgiven. So they're going to have the information available for you on how to apply for forgiveness, ideally starting this past Monday. But you do have to give them some time to ramp up and get that information out to you. But I would say continue to check. And I would also say for those of you who have communications with your PPP lender via email, continue to check your email, check your spam, check your junk folders for that communication so that you can put your application in sooner rather than later and just be able to move on from this part of the process. The other thing I wanted to add that I just remembered is, remember, the PPP requires you to keep your documentation for 6 years. So however you plan to store that, make sure you store that because you're required by the loan and having signed for it to keep your loan documentation and your supporting evidence for the PPP available for 6 years in case the government wants to come back and take a look at it. Now that's highly unlikely, but you don't want to come up short if we come calling.
Awesome, thank you. So I do see a few questions in the chat, and I think some of, or in the Q&A box. I think some of them Steve may be able to chime in on. So Stephen, I'm going to first get Gloria. Gloria, you can unmute your mic and speak to ask a question. After Gloria, we're going to have Stephen share his insights and thoughts, and then the questions can go to anybody after that. Go ahead, Gloria.
Thank you. Good morning, Matt. Good morning, Eric. And good morning, Althea. How you doing?
Good morning.
Stephen, thank you. I cannot be tired to thank everybody to put this together, because at the end, nobody knew before March 9 anything. And now we are all able to get benefit from all the services that you guys are providing. I was benefit, and I always said it every time that I have opportunity to talk to you, Althea, because if you guys don't present these seminars and we don't learn and we don't do the work that we had to do receiving those benefits, things not gonna come out in the best way for us. My question is, because before the PPP, I didn't have in place a payroll company or system. What I did was, as soon as I received it, I start, doing it through a company, to a payroll company. So I start since day one, hiring a company, and from that day that I received the PPP, I have everything in place. Now, I also have the opportunity to be in different, seminars and learn that I can be benefit to use the easy form. And I have already all the numbers, because there is another entity that help, small business to develop those programs, and we can put all the finance together. And now I have an Excel sheet where it can tell me that I am completely 100% eligible to be to have the forgiveness. If my bank hasn't asked me anything yet, and I'm banking with Chase, but everything that they had handled is online. There is no way to talk with anybody, even though I know the bankers and they know me. They don't have information. They say that everything is online. So when we have everything prepared and we already have the number ready, if they don't send anything to us, we just need to wait.
Yes, so you'll have to wait until the bank is itself ready, right, to submit the loan forgiveness application to the SBA. And remember, there's 10 months to get forgiveness completed from the time you got the money. So there's an extra 8 months in there after you use up all the money to get forgiveness.
Because I received the amount that was 2.5, times my payroll. So I already expend all of them. At the 8 weeks, I was exactly the way that I spent it. So I have everything ready, but I was even looking to see if I can get an additional amount. But you explained in the last session they had with the Miami-Dade Chambers of Commerce that there were no that possibility.
Right.
Okay, so that was my question.
Right, and we'll see, right? So we just have to keep watching the news to see what the Congress does, because I'm fairly certain there's leftover PPP money. So the question then becomes, what do we do with that? But yes, you want to wait, Gloria, on your lender to let you know. Now, Chase was the #1 lender for PPP. So they've got quite a few applications they're going to have to process. So I'm sure they're in the typical way that banks work, they're looking for the most efficiency in that process, and maybe it hasn't quite yet been developed. So yes, please be patient, but don't forget about it, right? Because as you begin to go on to other things, you might forget about this PPP loan. So, maybe give yourself a reminder on Mondays to check their website, and see if anything has happened, to check your email, to hear from them. And then I suppose you could also always try their 800 number to see if you can, squeeze any information out of a customer service representative, or if you know someone from a branch, they might have information to just kind of give you some progress updates on how they are coming along. And I think to some degree, we will know that as well eventually over time, because our lender relations division is in contact with the lender population to kind of monitor what's happening with them. And so if you would like, you can also join our Q&A sessions. Friends, we offer 2 virtual Q&A sessions every single day, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock to answer questions that you may have about PPP or our Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program. And if there aren't a lot of people on those lines, then we're also more than willing to take questions about SBA in general. But thank you so much, Gloria, for always being so engaging and participating in everything that we have to offer.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. So let's get to our member, Stephen Henriquez, who is a CPA, small business CPA. So he's our resident expert in regards to this, tax and accounting, all that. So Stephen, you have the floor. Any insights, nuances we want to keep in mind as business owners? Uh-oh, we can't hear you. Hold up. Go ahead, speak again. Yeah, we cannot hear you.
On Zoom, when if he's joined by a phone, sometimes the phone microphone itself is off. So if you swipe, I think, to the right, Stephen, you can tap to unmute yourself. It's like this hidden thing in Zoom when you join by telephone. And then there's also that little button in the bottom left corner, usually, that's a mute button as well. Okay. And then also, Stephen, you can dial into the Zoom with a different telephone if you wanted to. Right, Matt? Is there a dial-in number? Yeah. If maybe you can find that and call it out. Do you have a landline by chance right next to you, Steve?
Yeah, if you have a landline, that would probably be the best thing if you have a landline next to you. If not, you can call in, and if you need the number, looks like you already got it.
Yeah.
I can give it to you.
Is there a way, Matt, to post to the Q&A, or actually, you know what?
It's in the chat. So what you mean what Ms. Fernandez put into the chat? That's all attendees. So all attendees should see that link for those that are here on Zoom. If you check the chat, Ms. Fernandez had put in there the link to the 6-week series, Close, Survive, and Thrive. And I think we have Stephen Henriquez. So, you're on, Stephen?
Sorry. Yeah, technology is terrific today.
Right.
Awesome.
I literally have you on my phone, my desktop, and my regular phone. But anyway, I'm sorry for all that. But thank you for having me here, and Althea, thank you for everything you imparted to everyone earlier. I did want to just kind of point out a couple things. I know like people are asking when to apply, how to apply, and everything. She said obviously everything goes through the banks. And one thing I always kind of stress to people is that there's no rush per se. You know, I know some people want to get it over with, and if you're using the EZ form and nothing's changed as far as your employees and all that, you could probably go right on ahead as soon as the banks are ready. You know, the banks aren't all ready yet, but from what I've heard, it's probably going to be in the next week or so. But for everyone else, I would say there's no rush because the SBA, for example, just this past Tuesday and the Tuesday before, they put out additional FAQs, answering questions to clarify some issues for everyone, and there's more to come. And every time, you know, every change that's been made has been beneficial to the business owner. From when, you know, extending the payment terms from 2 years to 5 years, going from 8 weeks to 24 weeks, adding the alternative period. So everything that's changed as this process has happened has been beneficial to us. So I've told my clients that, hey, there's no rush. You have the money already. They're not going to take it from you. As long as you've spent the money properly, whether you apply next week or 3 months from now or what have you, you know, the end result will be the same. Now, if you're not sure about how much you're going to, you know, if you're not going to have it all forgiven, like Althea mentioned, interest is going to accrue on any part that is not going to be forgiven, so you might want to be ready for that. But other than that, I would, you know, we're preaching, hey, let's wait. Let's get the best deal that might come out, you know, later on. There's talk in Congress about forgiving all PPP loans up to a certain dollar amount. I've heard 100,000, 150,000. Obviously, we don't know if that's ever going to happen, but that's out there. At least someone's talking about it in D.C. So that's my take on it, is to, you know, there's no rush. Do it right. You know, get the best result that you can get.
Very, very good points, Stephen. Very good points.
Yeah, if I may beat that horse a little more, that's such a great point, that things are changing constantly. And, but again, if you're a sole proprietor, a 1099 independent contractor, you know, it's worth it to, or self-employed, you know, it's worth it to get going, fill out that easy form, assuming your bank is ready, and be done with it. Because,
yeah,
you know, assuming you have all the documentation, it's going to be forgiven regardless. Your best case scenario is that your loan is forgiven, right? And so for those folks, you know, getting the forgiveness process done is, you know, is worth it. But I mean, man, Stephen, that's so true. There's no rush. Again, you have 10 months, but the challenge is, you know, we get busy with life and busy with our businesses. You know, you don't want to forget about it. And that's why I recommend putting something on your calendar, you know, that's a recurring feature on your calendar to remind you to do it. Don't remind yourself every day, because then you'll ignore it. But, you know, maybe once a month, or excuse me, once a week or every other week to remind you to put that application in.
Althea?
Yes.
So, for instance, obviously we're talking about forgiveness, and I know it was at one point 75%, and then 60%. So if an employer had an employee that left, and then they rehired someone else, it still counts towards that, correct? So
That's correct.
I just want those type of nuances.
Sure.
make people
Yeah, so the PPP, with the PPP, first round, second round, and the Flexibility Act, you must have used at least 60% of your PPP loan on payroll and associated payroll costs. You can use over 60%. You just cannot use less than 60% and get full forgiveness, okay? Now, the additional 40% you could have used on payroll or on certain other uses like the payment of utilities, your leases, and your mortgage interest on business property. You could have used up to 40% for that. If you used all your money on payroll, your loan should be forgiven. Just submit the application with your documentation, and your loan application for your loan forgiveness application is just cake. It's if you didn't keep to those ratios where these additional calculations come in, and where you will end with a balance. And if you know you're that person, to Steve's point, maybe you hold out a little bit and see what happens with the current efforts in Congress, right? So that, you know, for those members of Congress who are putting forth the idea that we would just unilaterally forgive all loans under a certain dollar amount, and that's you, then maybe you save yourself the time for filling in the application and ending up with a balance.
Awesome. All right, so we have a person, Bill Warren, who asked a question about being the only person on the payroll, and his bank representative is telling them there's nothing else he needs to do. Bill, if you're on, I just allowed you to talk. You should be able to unmute your mic and ask your questions in more detail. You just muted your mic.
Okay, there we go. Good morning, everybody. Let me try that again.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks so much for this information. It's very valuable. Yeah, I bank with a local bank, and
Name and business.
Oh, Bill Warren from Benefits Design Resources. I'm an insurance agency here on Miami Beach that specializes mainly in employee benefits and other healthcare insurances for individuals and families. Yeah, I bank with a local bank, and a couple of weeks ago, I was by there asking them about, you know, what I need to do for the loan forgiveness, and they said, well, we have everything that we need from you. I only gave them my initial, you know, application with my payroll information at the time, but this representative told me there's nothing more I need to do. So I was wondering, you know, should I maybe ask the branch manager just for, you know, more information, or should I just don't worry about it and take his word that there's nothing else I need to do?
I'm not feeling it for the take their word for it.
Yeah.
The reason I say that is because the world is filled with people, and not everybody knows what's going on at all times, right? And yet those people have jobs too. So I would say, you know, watch and wait what your lender posts on their website about PPP loan forgiveness, for example. I would, if I find myself in the branch again, yes, I would ask someone higher up about it. Now, it could very well be, I mean, they certainly have documentation from you because they got it when you applied for the PPP, but just because you use that documentation to get the PPP doesn't tell us how you utilize the money. And that's what you have to show for forgiveness. So I don't know what they're thinking about.
Okay, well, thanks. I'll just wait and see what comes out later on, and definitely make a couple more visits because my accountant feels differently.
Right.
But,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just remember, you know, you're dealing with a bank, a financial institution, and you had paperwork, you got a loan document that you signed and everything. So just the same way, there's going to be some paperwork for the forgiveness that you'll need to obtain at some point. So It's not a matter of just, there's nothing you need to do. There's going to be a couple, hopefully minor steps in your case, but there's always going to be something to do. It just doesn't all just disappear on its own.
That's right. That's exactly right.
So we have another question by Robert Tyler. Should the company or the financial institution initiate the forgiveness process?
Right. That is in the entire loan forgiveness process starts with the borrower completing the loan forgiveness application that you can find online at treasury.gov/cares, and you'll see the application there. Then you submit that application or its equivalent to your lender. And when I say the equivalent, it's the lender who would create that equivalent application. So they may just have you input, for example, the same information that's on the loan forgiveness application into a website or web portal, okay? So that begins the process. You, the borrower, making application for loan forgiveness. The bank takes your application for loan forgiveness, looks over your documents, and gives it the once over, and then they submit to SBA for loan forgiveness on your particular loan, PPP loan, and then SBA will respond to the lender saying yes or no, or yes, but, right? Yes, most of this, however, this much is not. And then the bank will get back in touch with you, the borrower, to let you know that your loan was forgiven completely, or a portion was, or none of it was. And then if you have a balance on that PPP loan, the lender will tell you what to pay, how to pay it, and when to pay it. But it all starts with you, the borrower.
Exactly. It starts with you, because right now you have a loan. That's all you have right now with the PPP. You have a loan from your bank that at some point you're going to have to start paying back. So if you don't want to pay it back and you qualify to not pay it back, then you have to start the forgiveness process.
Perfect. Perfect. And Stephen, I know that a lot of business owners, there are a lot of documents they have to submit. Mr. Davis asked a question about what type of documents are needed for W-2 employers for forgiveness. But could you answer that in terms of documentation, and also maybe some best practices business owners should start doing right now to prepare their documents, prepare themselves to go after forgiveness, or either going directly to their lender or working with you as an accountant?
A couple things. One is it depends on what your expenses are that you're going to be using for forgiveness. As Althea kind of mentioned earlier, I'm promoting, because we have this extended period. If you think about it, your PPP was based on 2.5 months of payroll, but now you have up to 24 weeks, 6 months almost, to pay it out, to use that money. So I'm promoting unless there's some circumstance that you can't, I'm promoting that you just focus on your payroll. You should be able to spend 2.5 months of payroll within 6 months. Obviously, there's some businesses that had to shut down and whatnot, so that might have a different circumstance. But if you can, I would just focus on payroll and not include other expenditures that, even though they could be included, if you have it all in payroll, let's just keep it simple and just use payroll. So if you're able to just do 100% of your payroll, then in those situations, you'll just need to provide a payroll register. Obviously, you also need to verify that your number of employees hasn't changed. That's what's the FTE's full-time equivalents hasn't changed between 2019 and the covered period of your PPP loan. You haven't dropped people's salaries below 25% of what they were making before, or their hours if they're an hourly employee. So you just need those documents, basically your payroll register. That'll show all that information there. So if you have a payroll service like an ADP or accountant, they should be able to provide that information for you. If you do your payroll on your own, then obviously you should keep all that information, whether that's time cards or worksheets that you use to summarize your payroll every week, that sort of thing. that's the information you want to keep on hand. You may not need to provide that up front, but as Althea said, they can come back at you for 6 years potentially to audit that information. So you want to keep that information available for that 6-year period. Obviously, in this age, if you do have it on paper, like punch cards or whatever, I would scan everything, put it in the cloud, back it up in 3 different places or something, just to make sure you always have it available to you if need be.
Yes, because if you've ever had any issues with the Internal Revenue Service, they are not nice.
That's not true. Some of them are nice,
Nice.
but they don't play. They don't play, though.
That's my point.
They'll be nice to you about it, but they don't play.
That whole experience is not nice. You do not, you, the borrower, do not want to be involved, ideally, with the Treasury Department, period, or SBA for that matter. So just keep the documents. It's not that big a deal. You're absolutely right. You create a Gmail account for yourself and email it to yourself. Keep it in the cloud, and you're just able to access it whenever you need to.
So we have another question. Is health insurance and pension a part of the payroll process?
Yes, Aileen was good enough to answer that question for us in the chat. It's yes, eligible payroll costs include salaries, wages, commissions, payments to furloughed employees, bonuses, hazard pay, benefits like vacation, parental, family, medical, or sick leave, healthcare coverage, including the insurance premiums and retirement payments that the employer makes. Even severance packages are included as well, and payment of state and local taxes. So there's a lot that's included in the payroll costs that are forgivable. So just make sure that as you're applying for forgiveness, that you keep those aspects in mind and include them.
Yeah. And just to go back to the whole thing about, new information is coming up and everything keeps getting better, the FAQ editions that came out this past Tuesday clarified that health cost includes dental and vision as well. So again, they just keep making it easier and easier to get this thing forgiven.
That's right. And I'm putting the Treasury website into the chat or whatever, wherever this is. I think this is the Q&A, so that you all can, I'm so glad you mentioned, Steve, the FAQs. The FAQs are frequently asked questions. There is a list of them for loan forgiveness, and there's a list of them on PPP in general. Some of the questions and answers are like confusing, but some of them are very straightforward and easy to understand. And I found that the loan forgiveness ones were fairly simple, and they gave illustrative examples and as part of the answers. So that's worth taking a look at, and just check periodically. And what's great about the FAQs is that when they get updated, there is a date next to it. And then the latest information is at the bottom. So you just scroll all the way to the bottom. And if you look at the footnotes at the bottom of the pages, it will tell you the date that the answers to the questions are valid. So for questions 51 and 52, I think, that were updated this week, it'll tell you as of August 11th, the answers to questions 51 and 52 apply. And then, the subsequent questions were answered some other time. So that helps to keep straight what has changed in your favor.
So I think these are the last 2 questions, and they're kind of similar. There's a few people that have received the initial funding for the PPP during where it was saying it's only 8 weeks of payroll. And you mentioned that it is extended to 16 weeks. So are the previously funded applicants eligible to use more of their payroll costs over the 16 weeks?
Well, I think the confusion there is the original PPP loan was based on 2.5 months of payroll. Now, and then originally you had to use that money in 8 weeks. And now that has been extended to, instead of 8 weeks, you have 24 weeks to use the money. You don't get more money, you just have longer to use the money that you originally got.
That's right. And that can be helpful, right? Particularly if you had a reduction in your employees. Now you have more money than you need to pay employees. So, you know, that's part of the PPP Flexibility Act that allowed for that. So folks can stretch out the use of those funds for longer periods of time. But currently, there is no additional monies available for PPP. But like I said before, chances are there's leftover money, and we just don't know what's going to happen with that.
All right. So
there was another question. Someone was under the 8-week program, and they're asking if they're eligible for 6 months. Yes, everyone is eligible for the 6 months, the 24-week forgiveness period.
Period. Yeah.
All right. So, Mr. Davis, if your question was not completely answered, I just allowed you to speak, so you can unmute your mic and ask the question if you didn't get the answer that you needed.
Yes, thank you. First of all, for you all sharing this information with all your viewers. Yeah, I was kind of concerned about that, not being sure, because it was up under the original 8-week program, and wanted to know if I would now be eligible for the 6 months. So that was my concern. I think Stephen kind of, and as well as Althea, gave some clarification on that. So I'm just looking to get prepared for it. I'm going to hold out a little while longer, knowing that changes may come, and hopefully that all the changes work in my favor. But thank you. Yes, the question was answered.
Awesome. I love what you said, Wayne. I'm getting prepared. That's it. That's the critical piece right there. And I like that you're going to watch and wait with expectation that things will go your way. Why not? Why not? Yeah, I think that's great.
Everything. I mean, there's definitely going to be more changes. Like I said, there was an update on just this past Tuesday. There was an update the week before, so I'm expecting another one next week. And every one of the changes have been beneficial for the borrowers.
Awesome.
That's right.
So, right now, we do have Ms. Harris. We want to thank her for her time. She has to run to another webinar, and you know, SBA is very busy. So thank you, Ms. Harris, for taking the time to answer any questions or being here. You have any parting words? Go ahead.
Yeah, please. I put into the Q&A or chat, or I'm not sure where it ended up, but I did put our local website there. I do want to encourage the membership to go to our website, sba.gov/South Florida, and sign up for our e-blasts. That's where we do not spam you and send you a bunch of unnecessary stuff. What we do is we send out a weekly email about our upcoming programming that can be beneficial to you, whether it's about our PPP Next Steps webinars, about our resource partners who have sessions coming up, about that 6-week program that starts on Monday at noon. We put that information out to be helpful to you. We have a monthly newsletter as well. And so when you get to our website, you scroll to the bottom in the right-hand corner is where you can sign up for our e-blast. Also, in the middle of our page is the web calendar of all events happening in our district, which is everywhere south of Orlando. And we welcome your questions. Listed on our website is our email box, southflorida_DO for district office @sba.gov. We have a YouTube channel. We're on Twitter. So we do hope that you'll connect with us and allow us to serve you and assist you during this time period. I thank you once again, Eric and Matt, for having us on today. It is such a pleasure to be partnered up with you all to benefit small businesses. And I really appreciate you all's time, your attention, and your engagement today. It's really helpful to us. As one of my colleagues says often, you know, we're not applying for these loans. So it's very helpful for us to engage with you to understand the process from your standpoint in our efforts to be able to serve you better. So thanks so much. I really appreciate the chance to be on with you today.
Althea, I must say, you know, you have been a champion from the beginning. I remember you telling people to apply. You may not think that you need the money or that you can get the money. And we've had several members that were reluctant in applying, and they applied and they got money that they didn't think they would be able to access. And again, as I tell people, this is your money. This is taxes that you've paid over the years. So
right.
Here we are. Thank you.
Oh,
so much.
that is music to my ears, Eric. I'm so glad because, you know, this is about, you know, succeeding in business. And this is why your members got into business, not to fail or struggle like this. And the federal government has made this opportunity available. You got to seize it. And one of the things I've been saying a lot lately is, listen, we're rolling out opportunities, right? And the thing about opportunities is that opportunities of a lifetime must be seized during the lifetime of the opportunity. So PPP is over. That opportunity has come and gone. And I'm delighted to know that your members seized the opportunity to get that PPP loan and give themselves some breathing room for 2.5 months, right? To really think about how else they might be able to repurpose their resources without having to worry about paying their employees for a couple of months. So that makes me so happy. Thank you so much for saying that.
And with that, I'll say, you know, and I got to shout out Gloria, because, you know, as Gloria was on earlier, Gloria is one of those persons that digs in and it makes it happen. So if you're in business, it's about making it happen.
That's right. Awesome. Well, thanks so much, y'all. Have a great rest of your week.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Bye now.
We appreciate you, Ms. Harris.
Yeah, bye, Matt.
All right. So, Stephen, did you log off, or are you still on the phone?
I'm still here.
Okay. All right. Great. So I think we have a question from a Bill Warren who was here. I think that may be our last question because I don't see anything else. Bill, you can unmute your mic and ask the question, Mr. Henriquez.
Yes.
Matt, I asked my question already. That was the same question.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay. All right. Go ahead. All right. So then we have actually come to the conclusion of this. We've answered all the questions that we see in front of us in the chat and the Q&A. It's been a very productive webinar. I want to give a shout out to Stephen and also Althea in regards to the information that was shared. Most importantly was I think Stephen shared probably the biggest bombshell is to just hold up. Let's wait and get as much information. Let's let things roll out so we can maximize our forgiveness as these things change. But Stephen, before we close out and go to announcements, could you share your last words and then also talk about your business services you offer as a small business accountant here with the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce?
Sure. Couple things I wanted to point out as well about the PPP, something I like to make sure my clients and when I speak to groups like this, make sure you're aware of. I know a lot of people received that EIDL advance early on. That's when they were giving out $10,000 and then it changed to $1,000 per employee and all that before the PPP came out and even afterwards. So a lot of people got that EIDL advance, not the loan. There's an EIDL advance and there's an EIDL loan. If you got the EIDL advance, something to understand is that word advance that was an advance on the PPP loan, basically. So if you got the advance and then you got the PPP loan, so for example, if you got the $10,000 in advance and then you got a $100,000 PPP loan, you actually have to pay back that original $10,000. The way to think about that is if you're an employee and you get an advance from your job, when you get your paycheck, that usually that paycheck is minus that advance that you got ahead of time. Well, because of everything that was going on, they didn't do that. So you got that $10,000, and then you qualified for a $100,000 PPP loan and got that $100,000. Now you actually have $110,000 that you received, but you only qualified for $100,000. So when you do your PPP application and you figure out your forgiveness and you say, oh, I spent all that money, so I'm gonna get it all forgiven. Well, the SBA is gonna come back and say, okay, yeah, you spent it all correctly, great. Now, but you still owe us back that $10,000 from the EIDL advance. So that part, quote unquote, won't be forgiven. So you're going to have that $10,000 plus the interest. I mean, it's 1% interest, but it's still interest from the time you got the loan to, when you eventually pay it back. So, a lot of people are going to get surprised by that, thinking they got full forgiveness, and really they won't because they had that advance. So something to keep in mind.
But Stephen,
also
very important point.
One thing I'll say, and it's not, I wouldn't say this is like something good, but the EIDL, you do have 30 years to pay that back?
Well, that's the loan. You're referring to the EIDL loan. So you got to remember, there's three pieces. There's the advance, which is, like I said, it maxed out at $10,000, I think it was. There's the PPP. And then there's the EIDL loan, which is that 30-year loan at 3.75%, which is a great deal as well. But again, we're talking, but that's a different option. That's a different item. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And what you're saying is that the advance, though, for the advance, they should treat that similar to their PPP forgiveness, and submitting all the documentation, so that along with their PPP loan funds and the advance, they can get all that forgiven together. Is that
no?
What I'm hearing?
No, actually, that's what I'm saying. That's not what's going to happen. What's going to happen is you get the PPP forgiven. So again, let's say you had a PPP for $100,000 and you spend $100,000, correctly, and actually on the form itself, it's going to say, okay, how much is your forgiveness amount? It's going to say $100,000, but when the SBA reviews it and it says and looks at, oh, did you also get an advance? Okay, we're going to forgive $90,000 of your PPP because you owe us back $10,000 from that advance that we gave you originally. So that advance is never forgiven. The point is you got more than you should. You should have only gotten $100,000. You got $110,000 between those two programs. So you're going to owe back that $10,000 no matter what. There's no way to not owe that back.
Now, what about
at least not currently?
So what about the people that just got the advance and
then you're fine. You're fine. Yeah, if you got the advance, I don't make the rules. I just tell you what they are. I know that doesn't kind of make sense, but if you just got the advance and nothing else, you didn't do the PPP, then you're great. You don't have to pay it back and you're good. But if you got both, the PPP is the advance is part of that PPP, and the PPP was only for the original amount of the PPP.
Yeah, I know. At least my understanding in the beginning, and glad we're clearing these things up because I'm sure people have this question, is that whatever the advance was, say you got the $10,000 and then you got PPP, my understanding was that your PPP would be less $10,000. Say you got $100,000, and rather than getting $100,000, you would receive $90,000.
That's what it should have done. If everything was equal, that's what it should have happened. But with all the havoc going on at the time, I don't know if they even had the systems to be able to go back and check who got the advance, who didn't, and things were running quick. So at that time, you just got whatever the PPP said. You qualified for 100, you got 100.
Right.
But not taking into account, you already got that $10,000 advance. But now they're coming back around, catching up on that. And if you look at the forgiveness application right at the top, when they ask you your name and your account, your business number, your business ID number and all that, they also ask you, hey, did you get an EIDL advance? How much did you get? What's that account number? And then they're gonna take that into consideration when they, determine what your actual forgiveness is.
Okay, so, but my saying that was out there, and so I'm glad you're making it clear.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. So we do have another question. Stephen, are you in?
Sure.
Stephen, you good? Okay. All right. Alonzo Gomez, another member of the chamber. Alonzo, could you introduce yourself, your business, and ask your question?
Hi, good morning, everyone. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, good morning. My name is Alonzo Gomez, CEO of Florida Building Maintenance and Complete Control LLC. We do building maintenance, janitorial, pressure washing, carpet cleaning, disinfection, and Complete Control. We do building automation controls, systems integration. My question is two-part. So we received the PPP loan first, and then we received the EIDL advance later on when I think it was like the second round or third round came out. Obviously, we have to report that as well when we're asking for forgiveness. That's my one of my questions. The second question is the EIDL loan. Are there limitations on what we can use that for?
The EIDL loan, you have to use it for working capital, for basically for your business, for your regular business operations. There's some restrictions on it, like you can't use it to relocate, that sort of thing. But for the most part, it's just for working capital use. But it can be for payroll, it could be for, inventory or what have you. As long as it's for your regular business operations, then you're fine.
No Lamborghinis, Alonzo.
Exactly.
No, I'm not trying to buy any Lamborghinis. So the other part is.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I want to make sure your first part was answered. Go ahead.
Okay, so we received the EIDL advance later on after receiving the PPP. That obviously takes into effect the same way, right? If you receive the EIDL before or after, it still counts towards your PPP. Okay.
Yeah, correct.
Awesome. All right.
Thank you. That was it.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. That is all the questions that we have. I want to thank all those that have participated in this webinar. This is something that will be online on our website, www.m-dcc.org. Before we close out, I know you already kind of did final words, but I did not hear, Stephen, what you do as a business owner and the services you provide, and any special considerations you may have during this time. Want to make sure that you highlight what you do, especially considering the fact that you took your time out this morning to share your insights and knowledge with so many of us.
Sure thing. Thank you very much. As I said, Stephen J. Henriquez CPA LLC. We provide bookkeeping services to small, medium clients, payroll services, tax returns, obviously, and all that. So basically, we consider ourselves the back office of your business. So you do the front stuff, you do your, what you're in business for, whatever that might be, and we take care of the back office. Whether that's your sales tax, your payroll taxes, your income taxes, your bookkeeping, all of that, we take that off your hands so that you can do what you love to do.
Awesome.
And that's one of the things that I always say, right, Matt, that you got to have the back of your house together. And here's the guy to help you keep the back of your house together. I say a lot of people are great at what they do. They may be great artists. They may be great architects. They may be great contractors, but they're not necessarily proficient in keeping their money in order. And that's what Stephen does, help you keep your money in order. So you need someone like Stephen to help keep your back of the house in order.
And Stephen, for those that may be interested in getting their back office in order and getting their bookkeeping, financials, payroll together, how do they get in contact with you to see whether or not you will be a good fit for their business?
Sure. They can go to our website, sjh-cpa.com. We're on Facebook at SJH CPA LLC, or they can call our office, 305-423-6399. or they can email me, Stephen, S-D-E-V-E-N, at SJH-CPA.com.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And we're going to close out. But before we close out, I want to make sure you understand what we have and what we offer as a chamber. The Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce, not only, and I'll have our president talk more about benefits, membership, and all that, why being a part of the chamber is important. But we do have a few programs that I personally run at the chamber, which is our technical assistance program, which we provide one-on-one technical assistance to help you with your accessing capital, getting your certifications together, business planning, and all those things. So all you have to do is go to m-dcc.org, click on services, and you will see our technical assistance. For those that need more capital during this time, we do have a microloan program that we've been running for many years in the chamber. We have cut our interest rate to 4%. This is outside of PPP, EIDL. This is a program where you can currently get up to $25,000 in a microloan for your business. As long as you're in Miami-Dade County, registered Miami-Dade County business, and you have business and personal finances for at least a year, you can take full advantage of this program. So we want to make sure that you reach out to the chamber, go to our website for our services, and you'll find much more about the chamber. Eric, I do see our past chairman and also membership committee chair, Mr. Davis, has his hand up. So I want to bring him in before he closes out, Eric. Mr. Davis.
Yes, I just have one simple question for Steve based upon his services. Are there any discount for chamber members that utilize your services?
We do have a couple discounts that we are providing related to our payroll service. We're running a promotion where you'll get the first month of payroll services free and 30% off on the months 2 and 3 to help you get going. And again, during this time period, as a lot of people are seeing, having that payroll service in place is very beneficial for the PPP and for, and going forward. That's one of the things I've been stressing to people is that given the economy, the state economy, the way it is, the lack of revenues that are going into the state coffers, they're going to be coming out and going after businesses where they can get some money. And if you're not paying your people properly, you're treating them as contractors instead of employees or what have you, that's a way for the state to get some money from you. And they're going to be going out and doing that as they've done before. These are not new. And they're going to be looking for any revenue stream that they could get. And the easiest one is to get people who are not following the current rules, never mind any new rules they might put in place. So I'm promoting get your house in order, your payroll, your income taxes, get yourself in order, because it's a good thing to do. It helps you, for things like this, for the EIDL loans, for the PPP loans, just what Matthew just noted that the chamber's doing. You still need to have your books and records even to get these micro loans that they're offering. So get your house in order and prevent any problems down the line for yourself.
Appreciate that, Steve.
All right. So what I'm sharing right now is Stephen Henriquez website. You can go to sjh.cpa.com, learn more about him and his business. Stephen, we want to thank you very much for taking the time to join us today, provide your information, and being such a valuable member of the chamber. And that's what we do. We want to make sure that we keep the business within our chamber membership, continue to circulate the dollar within our community, and having someone like Stephen Henriquez who can take the time to answer those questions, be a resource, provide discounts, and those back-end services is essential. And that's what we do as a chamber. So Eric, you want to highlight some more about the chamber and close us out? You have the floor.
Well, our mission is to provide economic and social transformation in our community. How do we do that? We do that by advocating each and every day for our membership. We as Matthew said, we have technical workshops, how to get certified with Miami-Dade County, how to get certified with Miami-Dade public schools. So it's about engaging. This month, being August, is Black Business Month. Each and every day at noon, we are engaging with our members. We'll have a member. Who do we have coming on today, Matt? Are you frozen? Anyway, we today at noon, we will have one of our members on, and as well as August 20th, we will have Ron Busby, who is the president of the U.S. Black Chambers of Commerce, the chamber that oversees numerous Black chambers throughout the United States. And we'll be talking about Black business and what is the outlook after COVID-19. How will businesses survive? How will they move forward? So please look out for that at 10 o'clock on the 20th, Ron Busby. And also today, I'm going to make an offer. Anyone who's been on today, we're going to give a discount. If you join the chamber at $275, we're going to take $100 off today. If you join today, reach out to the chamber at 305-751-8648 or www.m-dcc.org. And thank you all for joining us.